Outdoors proudly presents NASCAR Inside Winston Cup.
Guys, I got a camera, got off the side. We're having a big press conference here. I wanted to tip the viewers of Speed Vision and my show of what's going on. Dale Earnhardt's up on the stage. Steve Hanshu, president of Napa's up there. And they're telling everybody that I'm going to drive for Dale Earnhardt next year. That's right. It's big. I'm so excited. Team's excited. Going to race Chevrolet Monte Carlos. I'm going to be the third team, teammates with Park and Dale Jr. I just had to let you guys know first. Let's go to the press conference.
We're eagerly anticipating and enthusiastically looking forward to our first experience with Winston Cup team racing next year. And with Michael Waltrip at the wheel, I can tell you there's just a lot of excitement in our organization.
He said I was going to be driving for Napa. Thought I was going to have a 750 horsepower, high performance Chevrolet Monte Carlo. I got a S10 with a hat on it, and it ain't even turned around backwards. I can't explain to you. I can't describe to you my disappointment. Ah! I was kidding. I got the deal. I'll tell you all about it.
Hi, welcome to NASCAR Inside Winston Cup. Alan Bestwick here in our Charlotte studios with headlines of the week to discuss involving one of our expert panel members, as well as a complete review of Sunday's Duralube 300 at New Hampshire. Always a pleasure, I think, to welcome to the program our expert panel. Michael Waltrip is here, driver of the Nation's Rent Chevy for Ultra Motorsports. Johnny Benson with us, driver of the Aaron's Rents Pontiac for MBV Racing. And Ken Schrader's here, driver of the M&M's Pontiac for MB2 Racing. Now, normally, the guy that finishes the best in the race gets to introduce the show. You got blown off this week.
I didn't even figure we were going to discuss the race this week. We were just going to talk about Mikey's deal with Dale Earnhardt next year. I didn't even think we were going to review the race this week.
Started 9th, finished 10th Sunday.
Yeah.
Don't say that thing where you always say, well, it took him all day, but he finally got around. That's not funny anymore. What were you doing right here?
I got into Chad just a little bit, but not near as hard as Steve did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and that's it?
So that's it.
The only reason we showed that was because that's about the only time you made the TV broadcast all day.
I'll tell you all the time, don't tell everybody we're not on TV a lot.
Why don't you just go straight to Mikey, since he wants to do all the talking anyway.
Oh, we'll get to him in a minute, because if I don't get to you two guys first, you may not say anything the rest of the show. Johnny started 27th, finished 11th on Sunday. Kind of never made up the time you lost in qualifying.
No, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Been quick and just didn't get the lap that we wanted. It was still decent for everything we went through during the day. Got up to about 10th, and then I got caught speeding down pit road and started back again.
Yep.
Got up to about 10th again, got in that big wreck in turn 2, and then still finished 11th. So we were real happy to where we ended up. Not happy the cars tore up, but happy we finished 11th.
See, that was with 26 to go, the highlight we showed there, and your car was still in one piece.
Still one piece.
It won't
took
be
10 to go before
it won't be for long after that, yeah. Mikey started 13th and finished 20th.
Yeah, we didn't start off very good, and we worked on it all day long and got it better at the end, but just struggled a little bit early and couldn't make the time I needed to when they threw the green.
See, Schrader, here's the deal here. The camera's really showing Earnhardt, but that's how we were able to catch Mikey on the camera, too.
I'll tell you what, he better not be starting 13th and finish 20th next year. I'll tell you what.
You'll be riding that little S10.
You'll be riding that S10 in a heartbeat, buddy.
I got me a backup plan. Check them S10s out pretty close. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, okay.
And the hat.
But you got to have the one with the hat that turns around.
It's optional. That one just hadn't got the upgrade.
Okay.
How'd you like my opening? That's acting. I was acting. I'm liking that. I got an Emmy for that, maybe.
For our show, maybe.
That's a highlight for this show, at least.
Okay.
I'd take a break.
I think it's a good time here to take a break. Coming, we will thoroughly review, I think, the Duralube 300. We'll also discuss some of the headlines of the week if we can get around Mike's discussion in there somewhere. And we'll have question of the week and a preview of Dover as well.
NASCAR Inside Winston Cup is presented by Pep Boys. Cars like us, people love us. And brought to you by the new Motel 6, now renovated nationwide and still the best price of any national chain.
Back back on NASCAR Inside Winston Cup to review some of the news headlines of the week now. Starting with Friday in New Hampshire, where rain interrupted the planned schedule, pushed qualifying back to Saturday, though the teams did get 90 minutes of practice in on Friday late in the day. In qualifying on Saturday, it would be Bobby Labonte who put the fastest lap in the books, second Bud Pole Award of the season, a lap about 5 miles an hour slower than Rusty Wallace's pole-winning lap at New Hampshire in February because of the carburetor restrictor plates. NASCAR fined Jeff Gordon's crew chief Robbie Loomis $25,000, took away 100 driver and owners points for their intake manifold having a good bit of magnesium in it. In post-race tech after Richmond, the teams appealed the penalty. No final word been passed yet. Driver changes. Joe Bessie replaced Jeffrey Bodine in his Power Team Chevy with himself. Beginning in New Hampshire, other changes, Bobby Hamilton and team owner Larry McClure announcing this will be Chad Little. He's out of the John Deere car. They're literally, figuratively, after the New Hampshire race. He'll drive it at Talladega, but Truck Series rookie Kurt Busch will wheel it for the rest of the races this season. There are Bobby Hamilton and Larry McClure. They announced Friday at New Hampshire they will split at the end of this season. No new driver name, nor has Hamilton said where he's going. And now, the announcement you expected would get big play on this program, and Michael would be extremely sore at us if it didn't. Michael's moved to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated to drive a third Winston Cup effort out of that team stable next year with Napa as its sponsor. Ron Hornaday's Busch Series effort goes away for 2001. And I suppose if we want to have time to talk about some of the other things, we better start there first before we let Mike get onto that deal.
Let me ask you a question first. How many week deal did Dale sign you to?
I'm good through Daytona.
You're good through Daytona?
If the testing goes well and I run well down there, then I get to go to Rockingham too. So
okay.
I'm real excited about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We literally.
How come you didn't give us the exclusive on this now?
I did. Right before the press conference, I cut that little piece of tape there prior to the press conference and let you guys in on it. But it literally didn't come together until Monday. And it was after the taping of this show, which is at 11 a.m.
Yep.
on Monday morning, that we were able to put the deal together. Just very quick as far as it's kind of wild how it happened. You know, we all know in this business how big things are and how so many times it takes a lot of time to put it all together. But worked this out in a hurry. And I'm looking forward to our association next year.
Okay. The deal on the Gordon manifold. What do you think?
I think that when they go to the appeal, they got a pretty good shot of beating it. I mean, it wasn't the only one out there. It's been on the cars for a while. It's got the right part number. I mean, I don't know everything about that deal, but
Yeah, I don't believe Hendrick is the only one that has it.
no, I think they got a shot of beating it.
Okay. New Hampshire just having the practice late Friday afternoon instead of trying to run qualifying in there in the waning daylight. Pretty good call, huh?
It was. I mean, it was great to get on the track, be able to feel out the scenario that we had to deal with, and it worked out fine. I mean, an hour and a half worth of practice instead of just an hour, maybe quick qualify was the way to go, knowing that we're going to qualify on Saturday.
Right.
And then the qualifying was a little bit different at Loudon this time because of the fact that it was pushed back to Saturday and there was only one round. They gave us 2 laps. And a lot of time at Loudon, we wished we had 2 laps anyway because it's really difficult to drive out there and get a hold of the track that first time around. And so NASCAR made that call, let us have 2 laps, and I think it gave everyone a fair shot at getting qualified for the race.
Okay. Anything else?
No, unless we want to talk a little more about your Napa deal.
Well, it's just big and huge. I'm very excited. I'm going to have Napa on my car next year. I'm going to drive for Dale Earnhardt. I thought my acting was...
You drive for Dale or Teresa?
I don't know. I haven't found out yet. So I'm thinking it's both. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think Teresa's kind of in charge. If it's anything like Mike and Buffy, then I drive for Teresa.
Probably be a pretty good idea to keep that in mind.
Because old Buffy runs my show, too.
Time for a break here. We'll come back and review Sunday's Duralube 300 in just a minute. Speaking of Mike acting, look at this.
More? Look at all this stuff. Oh, man. This is big. I just walk around and giggle a lot now.
One more lap. How about that hot rod? Big hard. Good job, man. Great
which I didn't think you could ever do. You lead every lap, you win the race, you look up and there's Bobby Labonte, you know, running second. So it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you know, they got a great team, and the 88's got a great team, and the 3's a great team, and obviously, I mean, it's going to be hard to win this thing. Whoever wins it is going to earn it. There's no question about it. I don't think that Bobby can coast. I think Bobby's got to stay aggressive and keep running up front. And of course, everybody else behind him's got to do the same thing and do it a little bit better. So he's going to be hard to catch because they're so good, but maybe we can put a little pressure on him.
Jeff Burton talking about the championship potential for his team after winning and dominating Sunday's Duralube 300 at New Hampshire. We come back now to review the race with our expert panel, Johnny, Michael, and Kenny. 7 caution flags, most of those in the final 100 laps. 11 of the 43 starters finished on the lead lap. The race did end under caution, but the big headline there, third one from the top, no lead changes. We had no caution in this one until we almost got 100 of the 300 laps into the books. A lot of feeling out to be done in the opening laps. First race there using the carburetor restrictor plates. Let's look at some of the early action. Jeff Burton took off on the start. Got the lead on lap 1 from pole sitter Bobby Labonte. Never gave it up the entire afternoon. How different was it racing with the plates?
It's awful hard to say. I mean, you just didn't have the horsepower. You couldn't spin the wheels coming up off the corner, and it was, in most cases, hard to pass.
This is typical Loudon. We saw Jeff Burton have a two-second lead over Jerry Nadeau, just cruising. And then as soon as he catches the last car, Scott Pruitt was running last basically on the racetrack, and it took Jeff 4, 5, even 6, 7 laps to get around him. That deficit was erased. So if you ask me how different was it, you had Jeff Burton, always a strong car. Sometimes he starts 38th and wins. He just happened to start second this time and led every lap. I don't think it was a ton different. The racing looked the same to me, and the things that were going on felt the same to me. You just didn't have all that power coming up off the corners, slowed the cars down 5, 7 miles an hour maybe, and that's what NASCAR was looking to do. It wasn't overly fun as a driver. You know, you didn't. You were kind of frustrated by what your car would do. So, you know, I didn't particularly like it, but as far as what the fans saw and what we saw as action, I don't think it was any different.
Did it open up the second lane a little more, having the slower entry speeds into the corners?
Maybe just a little bit, but the track was resealed before this race, and I think that, you know, as that sealer moves up, it continues to open up a little bit, but I think it opened it up a little bit.
And I think that was evident by, you know, Jeff Burton dominated the race, and we'll see later, he gets, at the end of the race, he had to race his rear end off to win that race. He got on the outside of Earnhardt and ran out there and kept him a lap down. If he had slipped at all on that high groove, those guys would have lined up and went by him. And then the same thing with Bobby Labonte, got on the outside of him. So I believe that it was easier to race on the outside this time than it was in the past.
Not a lot of shoving and bumping and banging around in the first 200 laps. A lot of people were afraid of it being a wreck fest going in. I was shocked.
For the end.
Well, yeah. It turned out to be that way at the end, but for 200 laps, it was very timid. Surprised?
Well, yeah, no. I mean, I think everybody felt that they needed to get in their position, kind of protect the bottom, and try to just kind of stay in line and not really get, because we felt that if you did get shoved to the outside, man, you were going to the back. And so I think everybody just kind of hung out for a while and made sure that nothing happened, because you weren't sure. Nobody knew what was going to happen.
Okay. Caution free from the green flag until lap number 94. First yellow of the race will involve Scott Pruitt off of turn 4. That's Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming out from behind him.
No comment, though, from Scott.
Yeah, there was.
As far as I heard.
Yeah, there was.
Okay, let's run into him pretty good now.
This is why we should research it just a little bit more.
He said he felt he got hit in the back.
Yeah, it's very difficult to spin right there. You know,
especially with no power.
With no power. And he come around pretty fast. That
could have got a lot more cars.
A lot more help.
Opportunity for Jeff Burton to lose the lead here. On pit road, first stop.
Battling a very fast pit crew that the Interstate Batteries team has, and also that choice first pit stall that we see an advantage a lot of the times, but didn't happen.
Did the job. Got him off pit road first. We showed you Tony Stewart there because he had pitted under the green just before the caution came out, put him a lap down. He'd find that same problem again later in the race. Now we run green again for another just about 100 laps. Jeff Burton is really dominating at this point. He had about a 3-second lead at one point in there. The second window for green flag pit stops approaches, and a couple of teams short pit, which will be a problem. Stewart's was one of them.
Yeah, the mileage, people thought the mileage would go way up, but we just frankly didn't see that yesterday. Some teams stopped around 90, 95 laps. Other teams made it past that point, but a little bit of debris here, plus the track was just getting covered up with rubber and tar and stuff everywhere, so NASCAR elects to throw the caution. Jeff Burton elects to let Jeremy Mayfield by and not Dale Earnhardt.
And apparently Earnhardt wasn't too happy about it. But,
expresses his displeasure.
Hey, when you're running that close in the points, you're not going to try to give the guy your spot.
There you go.
And like you say, not that, I don't know, if there was an opportunity to get a lap back there, he just didn't allow it to happen.
Jeff's racing one of the 4 drivers is Earnhardt, that he's racing for the championship. That was a brake fan. The little fans that get put in the top of the hoses to cool the brakes, that's what that was sitting on the track in turn 3. And just as they put the caution out, somebody hit it and scattered it in a million pieces. So yellow for debris there. That was at lap 199. Sterling Marlin, by the way, was one of the top 10 cars at that point when he pitted under the green, got caught a lap down and out of contention. Now the field's been bunched again, and now we're going to see that the patience has run out. This is into the final 100 laps. The attitude changes just a little bit. We go to lap 215 and a big mess in turn 1.
They all bunched up. And when I say they, I was one of them. You see the Nation's Rent car going to the high side there and barely slipping underneath Ward as he got into a little bit of a bind there with Jeremy, but it was just a big glob. You can see it
7
here.
cars involved by the time it's done.
Watch Ward. He thinks he's got it just by, oh, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, when
Bobby
we came
Hamilton's
around, they
view.
weren't all sitting there, so I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, 2 or 3 cars.
Oh,
Nice
there's a
move.
couple.
Good.
2 or 3 cars were out of contention or out of the race because of that wreck, and then everybody else just kind of scooted on their merry way.
So we go from lap 1 to lap 199 with 1 wreck and 1 caution for debris. Then in the final 100 laps, we get 5 cautions. What changed?
Cautions, breed cautions.
You like saying that, don't you?
I do, and it's true. You get them all
It is
globbed
true.
up. And like you said, you know what happened, Alan? The first 200 laps, it was give and take. People were just working the racetrack, learning what it took to be competitive with their plates and not crowding anybody. We got down to the last 100 laps, and it doesn't have anything to do with the plates. It has everything to do with that racetrack. It's just real tight in the corners, and you're running right next to each other, and the tires are slippery still on restarts, even without the power. The cars slide around on the restarts, and you get those congestions. You go along with that?
Well, they all get in a
Congestions.
pile, you mean?
Yeah,
Somebody
get in a
hit
pile.
somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time for a commercial break here, I think. This would be a good point for one, don't you think? And we'll come back and continue our expert
first-
review of the Duralube 300 in a moment. First,
Can we mention Thursday's show?
at what time?
It's
7 Eastern. Don't look at my
Eastern.
notes. You're supposed to know this.
an Elton Sawyer this week.
On This Week in NASCAR, got a question for Elton, one of the stars of the NASCAR Busch Series. Leave it on the GM Fan Forum number. Crew Chief Frank Stoddard, a New Hampshire native, getting another win with Jeff Burton after leading every lap of the Duralube 300 on Sunday afternoon. Continuing our expert panel review now with Michael, Johnny, and Kenny. We go back to the mayhem of the final 100 laps. We've just looked at the 7-car crash at lap 215. Now the next caution, which was at lap 245. This one will involve Bill Elliott. Turn 4.
Yow.
I saw this.
Like
I saw
Junior
this.
was there again.
Well, but this wasn't really Junior's
No,
fault.
no.
This was a deal where Bill Elliott looked like he was going to try to dive under Skinner right here, and Junior was right beside him.
Yeah, with no warning. I mean, it's not like
that's pretty
it's not
tough.
like Junior could have even given him a break because he just all of a sudden started coming.
That was one of them racing deals.
Yep, for sure.
And you get such a run off sometimes these guys, and I think that's what he was doing. He was just going to cut across right there, and
Wow.
they say Junior was there and really had
We're talking
nowhere
a
to go.
game of inches here, and that's all that was.
And of course, Bill, still with that fractured left kneecap, said he was going to go back to the doctors this morning and have it x-rayed and examined again because he took a pretty good hard shot there. That was a lap 245. Now, at this point, you've run 45 laps on tires, and most of the leaders choose to stay on the racetrack on the old tires. A couple of guys, like 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, come in and get tires. The decision there, almost kind of a no-brainer, wasn't it?
Just track position. You don't want to give it up, knowing that you could run another 50 laps.
Plus
Probably figuring that there was going to be another caution somewhere, or they were just flat going to go to the end.
Yeah,
Plus,
plus the tires.
Right.
They,
We had 200-lap runs
they weren't slowing down. Like Mikey said, Goodyear broad tire, and it just the front cars. I mean, especially the 99, and Leader kind of set the pace there, set the what everybody was going to do. But they weren't slowing down.
I mean, they weren't slowing down. We didn't have the horsepower to burn the rear tires off. We weren't getting into the corners as hard as what we normally do. And like I said, the times were only falling off 2-3 tenths. And
that decision might have been a little more difficult or a little more complicated had you had the full horsepower and been spinning the tires up off the corners and that kind of thing.
Definitely pitted.
Right.
Okay. On the restart from that yellow, Dale Earnhardt goes about trying to get his lap back from Jeff Burton and tries and tries and tries. And Burton, here, another opportunity to at least lose the lead, maybe throw the race away if he'd played his cards wrong with this one.
Yeah, this was good.
It was fun.
It was fun to watch, but this is the best part right here. Check out what Bobby Bonnie does. He sees the door open to swing by both these cats, and he gets to the end of the back straightaway, and it's like a tunnel. Everybody's got a funnel in there. It's like a funnel, not a tunnel.
What a move Burton made there, though.
Yeah.
Got it back.
That was big.
He got it back. His car was great. Got good momentum coming off the high side and got back in front of him. And pretty fortunate that Bobby didn't get in front of him.
Kind of is like a funnel, isn't it? You got to, no matter what you do on the straightaway, everybody's got to.
Hey, you're right, Mikey.
Okay. Let's go to more mayhem at lap number 277. More trouble off turn 4. We caught a preview of this one earlier. Mr. Schrader's involved here.
You can get by him that way.
I got into Chad, and he was all gathered up, and then we tried to make it 3 wide, and there wasn't quite room, and that was a hard hit.
So you're not taking any responsibility for that.
I'm taking responsibility. I got
the air off his spoiler.
I plain old bumped him. I got into Chad, but he was not wrecked.
When you left.
When I left. When I left, he wasn't wrecked, and they tried to make it 3 wide right there, and both wound up hitting hard.
Second time this season that Chad has hit the wall hard off turn 4. Remember the wreck he had with Terry Labonte back in July. About the same kind of hit.
It looked a lot like that. Those cars, when Park hit, I was right behind him. His car came off the ground. I mean, it was a big hit.
So that is caution at lap 277. Now
when Mikey wrecked, you didn't have to show his twice. I mean, like last week.
But you didn't wreck.
When Mikey had his little problem.
I didn't cause a big wreck. I caused only problems for myself. You created problems for other people, so therefore it was more of a highlight.
Okay.
How come it always has to he tries to bring it, he acts like he's a genius.
He's trying to pin that on me.
Yeah, he's trying to bother you and me.
Well,
he wants to take all the center of attention off himself. Sometimes you just got to be a man and fess up and say,
I said I did it.
just take it.
I said I did it. I didn't cause the wreck. Go ahead.
That was a 277 lap caution there. Everybody again, most of the leaders stay on the track, stay on the same tires. We go racing again, not for long, lap 289. Another big mess involving multiple participants. Watch Mark Martin and Jerry Nadeau.
It looked like Jerry got in the back of Andretti just a little bit and just checked up. Mark got in the back of him enough to get him around, and this is where all the big stuff starts to happen. Everybody, the restrictor plate is so different. Getting through wrecks even, because you start to drop down a gear and you want the car to take off, and it doesn't take off as fast as you want.
Jerry had a good run too.
Had a really good run.
Yeah, he was top 5 all day until this point.
Well, even Little E had a good run going. I mean, he's still running in top some. We got banged up in this, just everybody going down the bottom and then going back up to the top, and just a mess.
I believe we have seen all 3 angles of that, or are we going to see one?
That's a typical Loudon.
Here comes one more. There we go. This is Ward Burton's view.
Now, we saw Ward slip through one earlier.
Okay, missed that. Uh-oh. Wasn't his day.
No.
So that was at lap 289, and turn 1 is literally covered with junk from the wall to the apron. So NASCAR puts out the red flag, which I thought was a good decision.
I thought it was
no
great.
sense making guys that have been out there on tires for 90 laps run through all the junk and hope nobody cuts a tire down and costs them a chance at the win and all that kind of thing. And people seem to think that NASCAR is fairly random with how they use the red flag, but I believe they've got an idea in their mind of the formula for how many laps are left and what the situation is in terms of the track's condition for when they'll use the red flag and when they don't.
I think you're exactly right, and they've been consistent with it too. And it's been a big problem late in the race. They've done it, and I think that's a good idea. And the fans, you know, they love it. They were cheering again when the red flag came out because they want to see some racing go to the finish.
Yeah.
I was glad we didn't see a red there with the 3 to go.
Right. Well, that's
fine.
kind of the point I was leading to. Is there was a reason they used the red with 10 to go, but didn't on the crash that we'll see here in a minute. There is a formula that exists that they they use to kind of guide themselves on when they'll stop the race and when they won't in those kinds of situations. 7 laps to go, we get the restart. Bobby Labonte gets one final shot at trying to get the lead from Jeff Burton.
And you know, this is a race that Jeff Burton dominated, but yet here we are, inside 10 to go, with a great battle for the lead. And we saw great battles with Jeff. Look at him there shaking his tires off, trying to clean them up after the caution and get down this 3rd turn the way he wants to. And another cat that was going to make this deal big was Ricky Rudd. His car was right there at the end, and he was gaining on those guys.
Jeff Gordon had taken tires under one of the earlier cautions, and he was flying up through the field. It had been really interesting to see how far up he could have gotten had we gone green to the finish, but unfortunately, we will not. 3 laps to go. The race will end with a car sitting broadside across the racetrack in turn number 2.
Yeah, we've seen Sterling going down the track there with a flat left rear, and then when I saw him going into 1, I says, man, I don't think he's going to make it too far around. And
he's got 2 left side flats there.
Yeah.
And there was junk on the racetrack and
not enough time.
3 laps to go.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, even if they were to red flag it, the time you get going, you're going to count that lap. You give 1 to go, and it's a white flag, and then you're going to throw the checkered anyway. So it was the right decision.
So in hindsight, the decision to use the plates and whether it should continue at New Hampshire in the future.
$195,000 for winning that race up there.
That's big.
That's huge.
I hope they give us a little bit more power back. I mean, we're glad that they did something because of the problems, but we'd like to see a little bit bigger plate on it just so we can utilize a little bit more horsepower.
It wasn't near the gloom and doom that a lot of people expected it. I didn't, like Mikey had said earlier, I didn't see where the actual sitting up in the grandstands or laying on the couch. If you didn't know, I couldn't see where the race would have appeared any different.
No, not at all. And I think anyone that says anything different isn't being honest with themselves. It was a normal Loudon race.
Jeff Burton led all 300 laps. First time it's been done since Cale Yarborough led all 420 at Nashville in 1978. Championship standings, Burton moves up 2 positions, but Bobby Labonte gains 10 points of his lead because Dale Earnhardt fell from 2nd to 4th. You see the top 4 still 201 points apart. And here's the rest of the rundown. The NASCAR Winston Cup Series headed to Dover this coming Sunday. When we come back, we'll warm up the hot seat.
You're watching Speed.
Time for the hot seat, and we welcome to the program Robin Pemberton, crew chief for Rusty Wallace, and the Miller Lite team for Penske Racing South. 4 wins, 8 poles, led the most laps in 6 races this year, having led a total of 1,527 laps so far in 2000. Welcome, how you doing?
Good.
Those are pretty impressive numbers. You're sitting here just so enthused about having submitted yourself to our expert panel.
There's no telling what'll happen.
Well, and you should have known better. You've been on here before. I got a question.
Okay.
Okay.
That would be the object of this segment.
Okay. You guys
See how we're starting to catch on?
so good this year.
Right.
At the start of the year. Did you feel just snake bit as far as no matter what you did, everybody else decided to do something else different?
Exactly. I felt like a meteor would hit us before we'd win a race. You know, but I think everybody knows if you're up front, the way to beat the guy that's leading the race is you got to do something different. We stay out, they pit. If we pitted, they were going to stay out. So, you know, you have to look back at all of that and, you know, just keep going after it and
You were
bumping
so
your head
dominant.
against the wall.
So dominant.
Well, we felt like we gave away Martinsville, Pocono, and a couple other, you know, good finishes because of pit strategy or trying to do the right thing.
Well, what about the big deal at Sears Point? That was one of the most interesting things I think that's happened in our sport lately inside of the garage area. You sat on the pole by about 6
Half
seconds.
a second. Yeah, 6 seconds. Yeah, 6
I mean, it
seconds.
was huge. And then they take your motor and they say they're going to tear it down right in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And people with cameras and people with different shirts on disguising themselves are sitting there looking and watching. What was that like for you guys?
It was pretty emotional. You know, it's the engine room has worked so hard on a lot of different things over the past few years, and when you blow engines up, nobody cares. But as you're blowing engines up trying to make progress, when you quit blowing engines up and the progress is there, now everybody wants to know. You know, nobody wanted help when we were blowing up, but So now when we took the engine apart, let everybody see what was underneath and inside and all that other stuff, it was really a stressful deal. It was kind of embarrassing. You felt embarrassed for a while, and
at least everything was legal.
Oh yeah, it was all legal, and you know, but there's things that you've been working on for years, and all of a sudden you open it up in front of everybody, and you know, hard work, you know, paid off, but you felt like you worked for everybody else.
That
So
was
it was a weird deal.
Weird deal is exactly right. And what about the deal with Jeremy there at Indy? That had to put a little bit of a strain on your team to know your comrade had kind of run into a little trouble there, and you guys have both run so well. How did that affect your team, or did it?
Well, it affected us. You know, we tried to work together, you know, real close, and the goal was to get Rusty's car running the best we could, and then let Rusty go shake it down in the last practice there, and we didn't give Jeremy's team enough laps in the car probably, but you know, it kind of upset all of us. You know, we've tried to work close together, and we thought we had a team that could run first and second there.
Right.
What do you see for big changes for your team? I'm not saying that there's any, but I mean, is there any different things coming for the future for Penske?
Yeah, I think so. Ryan Newman is he's going to run some races for us next year, some ARCA, some Busch races, and a few Winston Cup. You know, I've got a good crew chief. Matt Borland's come on. He used to work at Pac West Indy Cars. He's been one of our engineers since last fall. You know, we're trying to put together a really solid effort for that, and improve our pit crew, you know, and get some depth there, and enable guys to get days off and stuff like that, which is kind of hard to do.
When Rusty Wallace is a little hyper.
No.
So what's it like to work with a driver who's that energetic? You have to calm him down a lot?
At times,
Can you
no,
calm him
not
down?
really. You have to understand. I mean, it's a lot better. If you're working on cars, it's a lot better to have to pull somebody back than it is to kick them and make them go. But if he's a competitor and you give him everything that he needs to work with and then some, you know, he's reasonably happy. But it's a good relationship for him and myself. We're not the same personality-wise. He's as far as he is at one end,
Yeah.
I'm the other way. So it works out.
You think that was okay, Schrader?
That was good.
Hyper?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he's that intense.
He's intense,
He's just that
yeah.
intense. He's on a mission. Lead every lap. I mean, which everybody is. He shows it
Yeah.
a lot more.
I tell you, if you were there working on the car, Bill Davis, he sells tickets for people to watch us work on the car in happy hour. I mean, we cycle out setups and stuff. I mean, to be honest with you, in an hour, we'll probably change 16 shocks, probably 8 or 9 springs, and 2-3 sway bars, and Rusty will get out occasionally and get a sip of water. So he keeps everybody on their toes.
One reason you can do that too is Rusty has a very good neck for not having to run 20 laps.
Yeah.
He can run 4 or 5 and
Yeah.
know if it's what he wants or
I'll
not.
tell you, a classic example is Bristol. He can run 2 corners. And the thing that makes him so good there, he knows where the car's got to be, and he puts it there. If the car doesn't go there, he's not gonna tolerate it. He comes in and we work on it, and that's enabled us to take 4 new cars to Bristol, 4 races in a row, win 3 out of the 4 races, and get a couple of poles. So it's not something that
Pretty good
normal
pretty
teams
impressive
do.
track
Yeah.
record there. All right, I need to take a commercial break here. Hang out with us, okay? Robin
Got it.
Pemberton with us in the hot seat. We'll be back in just a minute on NASCAR Inside Winston Cup.
This week's Castro Flashback Fact takes us back to September 18th, 1965, when Richard Petty decides to sit out a 300-lap race in Richmond. Leroy Yarborough drives the famous 43 Plymouth that race, but crashes into an infield light pole after just 80 laps.
NASCAR Inside Winston Cup is brought to you in part by Super 8 Motels, Super 8, all the room you want, and Miller Lite. Grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time.
Part of being a crew chief, taking the car to the wind tunnel, seeing what happens. Robin Pemberton is with us, crew chief of that Miller Lite Ford team for driver Rusty Wallace, with 4 wins already this season and 8 pole positions, and we continue the intense questioning of Robin by our expert panel. Now, I just want you guys to know, he said last time he came here, he was all ready for you guys to be really rough on him, and he thought you were a bunch of cupcakes.
Well, we started off by going to be easy with him, and then we talked about the engine thing, then we go to Joel's wind tunnel stuff. What else you got to show us?
Oh man, what else you want to see?
How often, do you have a wind tunnel schedule where you are consistently in the wind tunnel? How does that work?
We went a lot last year. Last year, I think we probably went 2 or 3 days a month, all for a year. And we've got a good package, and we didn't change the body styles much from last year to this year, and you know, this year we haven't been that much.
Do you use any of the model stuff that Penske does with his IndyCar stuff? You guys got a little number 2?
Yeah, we've got some models that we use.
Is there any way we can see that thing? I'd like to
come by. Our neighbors over there that is part of the Renard IndyCar team are building a scale model wind tunnel in the lot next door to us, and we use that tunnel for our models.
How big is it?
45%. It's huge. I mean, it's 3/4 the size of this table.
Is it in Mooresville?
Yeah. You want to come by and see it?
Yeah, I'd love to.
No.
You know, you would have.
You could have. You were close.
Yeah.
Huh? You were really close.
You had your foot in the door, buddy.
Yeah. You had your foot in the door.
Story of my life.
Mike's team was going to use Penske engines, except he went and changed teams.
I would like for Macy to be able to get in that little car.
Is that right? The 45%
Yeah, I think
scale
that'd be
car?
neat.
Yeah.
Because she's 45% of me.
When you got the
50, I hope.
I was going to say.
Boy, this is good. Yeah,
Okay,
thanks, Mike.
back on track here, please.
when NASCAR, when all of a sudden you got the deal, restrictor plates allowed them, besides the engine room freaking, what did you do? Did you go someplace? How'd you prepare? What'd you do?
We did not have time to go anywhere. The engine guys worked late, worked hard, and we actually didn't get any engines till Wednesday afternoon, just in time to chassis dyno and send them on the way. And we had all these plans like everybody, gears. We took 20 different gears to Loudon, and we used exactly what we didn't think we were going to use, you know.
Of course.
All around it, shifting, transmissions, all kinds of weird stuff.
Well, what about the people hear about restrictor plates and at Daytona and Talladega it's just 6,500
Yeah.
base.
Yeah.
This deal was up
How
and
is
down.
It was different, you know.
What kind of plan did you have for that? Did you?
It's hard because the RPM range you have to run in is 3,000. You know, Daytona and Talladega were 300 or 400 RPM, and that's different. You just get up at max power and stay. And we tried a lot of simulations and guessing and all kinds of stuff, and pretty much whatever gear you want to put into it, it'd run faster at one end and slower at the other, and vice versa. So we said maybe you can just think too hard. So we put our race setup in it from the last time, our qualifying setup, same gear, the same everything, and just went to the racetrack.
In trying to guess, kind of need a short answer on this one too, or a little short on time, and trying to guess what might be changed for Talladega. What are you doing to guess at that so you can be ready if and when it does come down?
I'll be in the tunnel 6 o'clock tomorrow morning with a couple of cars. And
A model?
No, these are big ones. Yeah, what you saw on camera
We can
there.
build you a model.
Yeah, I bet it's sweet, too. So we're going to go. We don't know the rules, but we're going to go. We'll check our car out and throw about 200 or 300 things at it, and hopefully what NASCAR brings will be somewhere in the middle. And when they let us know on the rules, you know, we'll go back and try it again, but nobody knows.
Thanks for coming, because it's nice to have reputable, credible guests on our show, so Alan will get a little bit excited about these. He's got this deal he does on Thursday night, and he's always like, yeah, wait till you see.
Yeah.
Today we had you, and we appreciate you coming here.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys asking me.
See what I have to work with every week.
Yes, I do.
Conditions. Yeah, thank you. Robin, thanks. Robin Pemberton, crew chief of Rusty Wallace in the Miller Lite Ford for Penske Racing South. When we come back, we preview this weekend's Dover race. Hang on.
This week's Pep Boys tip of the week. Most new cars require brake service during the first 30,000 to 42,000 miles. Also inspect brakes for wear before every winter and summer.
Boy, that's a tough one.
Mark Martin in victory lane last September at Dover, having won the MBNA 400 for a third straight year. Martin back to try and keep the string going, and the rest of the Winston Cup troops to try and stop him as we head to the Monster Mile this weekend. Let's start our look by a spin around the very, very fast, very high bank 1 mile oval.
Going down in turn one, and you drop down in there extremely fast, and even though it's only banked 24 degrees, it's like running into a wall.
And you come up off turn 2, and it's like you are coming uphill, and you just try to keep it off the wall. And 3 and 4 same. You just dive down the bottom of the track and hug the bottom.
Qualifying there is about a thrill ride. I mean, you go really fast around, like you said, Alan, and put the thing right on the edge of control and hope it sticks. And if it does, that's good.
Very.
If it does, that's good. Boy, he's an expert.
Expert
isn't he?
analysis.
Yeah, and if it didn't, that'd be bad.
That's be bad.
Very unforgiving racetrack.
And
Not much
also,
room.
You will hit something. If something
And hard.
And hard.
very unforgiving co-panelist here.
What happens at Dover? We hear you. What happens at Dover is you get loose off the turn and you hit the outside wall, or if you don't, you get that tail slapping going on, and the front straightaways bank so much that you slide down. Self-cleaning track. You slide down and you hit the inside wall, which is boilerplate. I believe.
Boilerplate steel, yes.
Yep, leaves a mark.
Just a lot of people show up for that race in Dover, though, man. The crowds are just huge. A lot of excitement about the racing at Dover. There's a race on Saturday, the Busch race, of course, and then for the first time, the trucks are going to race on Friday afternoon around 4 o'clock. So triple header weekend, and we'll be back here next week on NASCAR's Inside Winston Cup to tell you all about it. Was it time to do that yet or not?
I guess so. I guess we'll take a commercial break here because Mike's already done it. So go ahead. Time now for Question of the Week, where we put your topics of inquiry to our expert panel. And this week's Pelote Question of the Week comes from Donald Andrade of Clackamas, Oregon. Hope I pronounced that right. How does an engine leasing program work? Are teams guaranteed horsepower, passing inspection, and so on? Survey says...
It's Donald, D-O-N-O-L. You pronounced it right.
Well, we lease our engines from Hendricks Motorsports, and just like Johnny leases his from Hendricks also. And they're basically, they're going to go through inspection. I don't think you're guaranteed any horsepower. I mean, we aren't guaranteed any horsepower numbers other than we've got the best stuff they've got available.
Yeah, they're with Hendrick. They have all their engines. Randy Dorton, all the guys do a terrific job. They fall within a certain percentages, and they're very good horsepower. We've never complained with any of the engines that we've had.
No guarantees that it'll live.
No.
It's a racing engine.
But they don't guarantee it for the 24, the 5, and the 25 either.
Yeah, exactly.
They're building, and nowadays you have to have so much horsepower for both qualifying and a race that they're right on the edge. They go beyond it, and they break something, they back up a half step, and then they keep going more and more and more. And there's no guarantees, none at all.
Ask Mikey, with his Busch program and stuff, and like my truck we've had in the past, you write a check for $42,000 or so, and the truck backs up, and you unload your brand new engine, and it's like, it's yours. Whatever happens, happens. You hope it's a good one.
No warranties.
There's different programs too. Some people lease, some people buy the engines and then do a service contract with that provider. Dennis Fisher provides my engines for me in my Busch car, and we've had a relationship for 2 or 3 years now, and it's just, it's like Kenny and Johnny with Hendricks. They know they're going to get the best they've got, and they know it's a quality product, and so they just trust that that's the way it's going to work out.
At my truck shop, all the things we run out of straight race, and Jim Michaels in Wakarusa, Indiana, Performance Technology, we've been with him since like 88 or 9, and he's done us a good job. But they'll work with you, but there's not guarantees.
Yeah. I actually feel like we've done a reasonable job of addressing that question.
We've got some knowledge on these subjects. You all usually ask us stuff about
just wrong questions.
Don't know.
We know stuff. We just don't get asked the right stuff.
Okay, we'll take a break and we'll come back and wrap it up in a minute. Stay with us.
If you have a question for our drivers, mail it to us to Question of the Week, Post Office Box 240417, Charlotte, North Carolina 28224, or email us at speedvision.com. If we use your question, you'll receive a pair of Pelote driving shoes. Please specify blue or black and your shoe size. Pelote driving shoes you can wear all day.
Here's the NASCAR calendar for the weekend. Trucks, Busch cars, and Winston Cup cars at Dover on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Thursday night, 7 Eastern time on Speed Vision. Elton Sawyer is my guest on This Week in NASCAR. Then next Monday night at 7 Eastern time, they're going to let us back again to review the Dover races. here on NASCAR Inside Winston Cup. Can I mention that I played in Kevin LePage's golf tournament in Burlington, Vermont last Thursday? It was terrific. And I'm in Jeff Gordon's golf tournament in Wilmington, Delaware this Thursday.
Would you mind if I mentioned that I'm going to be at Lee Hostetler's Allied Truck Sales in Canton, Ohio on Wednesday night, signing autographs. So if you're up that way, come by and say hi. And I'm going to Atlanta on Wednesday morning to visit all the Napa folks. So then it's to Dover with the Aaron's Chevrolet for the Busch race on Saturday and the Cup race on Sunday. And pretty excited about the weekend. You, John?
Just looking forward to running Aaron's Pontiac at Dover. It'll be fun.
It's the Aaron's Pontiac, not Aaron's Rents. That's how
Aaron's
they want
Pontiac.
us to refer to it.
Or Chevy.
We're going to take the Federated Auto Parts truck up for the Craftsman truck race at Dover. Lyndon Amick's going to practice it Wednesday, then I'm going to go up and practice it Thursday, qualify it. And main thing is I'm just really excited about being able to tune into your show Thursday night. You know, that's the thing that that's going to be the highlight.
I'm glad of that. We'll do it again next Monday.
Really? Really?
NASCAR Inside Winston Cup has
points better.